Hello, this is Doug. It is good to have you with me again in the workshop of Wood Spun Round. I've got a piece of American black walnut here on the lathe. This is a half log. It started off roughly 12 inches long, about almost 4 inches wide across the split side. And I've got the bark side toward the headstock at this point. We're just trying to round this off. Going to make a nice wing bowl, but notice those cracks. If you missed them, go back and check. Might be a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come. But here we're working from the top down on this end right now, simply because I'm trying to save the bark. I've been working from the bottom up, what will be the base of the bowl, coming up toward the top. But as I get toward the top, I want to go from the top down, so I'm not pulling the bark off, but rather pushing into the bark, keeping it from breaking off. Making a final smoothing cut there, and then here we're starting to work on a small recess for the back side. This is so I can turn it around, put it on the chuck, and hollow out the inside. Just using a parting tool, making 2 or 3 widths there so that my chuck will fit into it. Then we'll come back and take that center part out later. That task is done, so we've got it turned around. It's on the chuck now. And as you can see, I'm working from that outer edge of the wing in toward the center. I usually will start right in the center, and I'll work my way out to the wing, just very shallow, kind of cutting through the bark until I get out to the end. And then I want to start working my way into the bowl from the edge. That's the normal way, so that you are cutting with the grain. It just makes a lot of sense here, but I want to leave that center as the bulk of the wood in the center to absorb the vibration. As these wings start getting thin, they will start to vibrate if they're very long at all. So I'm only going to work in about 1 inch at a time until we reach the bottom. So that's what I'm doing here. I have to kind of feel where the wood is and then cut. I'm trying to watch down the outside as I cut down the inside, just taking little bites at a time. There you see, we've worked down almost all the way to the bottom. I'm going to take some time here and fill some of these cracks with a little bit of CA glue, trying to protect those wings from breaking. The last wing bowl I did, one of the wings actually broke off. It was off center just a little bit. Caused the wing to get awfully thin, and it broke off because there was a little crack. I'm going to go ahead and take care of some of these cracks now. As you saw earlier, in the very beginning, one end of this is severely cracked. Watch this glue wick through this wood. Well, there it is. On the other end, it came all the way through the crack, and it does on this end as well, eventually. While we have the glue out, just going to take the time to put a little around that bark as well. Just a little bit of insurance. The bark is on there pretty tight, but we're going to just give ourselves just a little insurance by putting CA right along the edge of the bark so it stays onto that hardwood. The wings are pretty well taken care of now. We've put some glue in the cracks. We've glued on the bark. Now it's time to take out that bulk in the center. We're not worried about the wings. I'm not going to go back and and turn on them any. I will use a scraper here in a bit, but just want to take the biggest part of this center section out with the skew, or excuse me, with the gouge. As you can see, it's pretty evident the bulk of that center is out. The wings are turned down fairly thin. I've got some places there, some tool marks. I think I can do just a little bit better. So I actually turned the speed up here. We're up close to 2,000. Um, just double checking the height of my tool rest. But I'm going to use a scraper. You see there my big bowl scraper. It's nice and heavy, good thick tool, so it doesn't vibrate much. It's good and sharp, and I'm going to start with it turned up on edge. I'm going to come back up on those wings. Like I said, I've got the speed up pretty high, and I'm taking a very, very light cut and turning the scraper up on edge so it cuts more like a skew, just cleaning up some of those tool marks that are there on those wings. Gonna take just a quick look, make sure I'm getting what I want to get. I think I've got one more I want to hit. Sure enough, it's down toward the base anyway, so that helps. Again, very light cuts there. Decided to go ahead and use the rafing method. I'm going to use my scraper to take the balance of this center section out, and it works very well. Very well. That scraper is pretty sharp, and you can see there it's taking out real nice shavings. Just finishing up here, smoothing out that bottom, making sure all the tool marks are gone. That will eliminate a lot of my sanding here in just a minute. Now that I've taken all that wood out of the center, I can see what I've got. Got a couple of cracks that I think I hit earlier, but I just wanted to make sure I've got them. There in the center, that's not really a crack, that's a worm trail. I mentioned earlier at the very beginning that the cracks on the end might have been a foreshadowing. Well, this worm trail right in the center of the very bottom, this should have been foreshadowing for me as well. Well, we won't say more about it. It's sanding up very nice, and we're going to do some more work on it here. We've sanded the inside. It's time to do some work on the outside of it. But first we're going to work on that worm trail there in the center. My choice this time, especially with it being walnut, and that worm trail is dark, what's left there, let's put some coffee grounds in there. So that's what we're doing here. We've got the coffee grounds on the inside. You saw me there pour the excess out back into my little container. That's because my glue was somewhat dry. But then we want to put some tape over that. I'm going to work on the back side, and just to keep glue from coming all the way through and staining that top side again, I'm going to put some tape across here just to cover it up, keep it safe. And then once we're done with the backside, we can pull the tape off, and we'll be ready to start sanding at that point. But this is an odd trail. It goes, it really is pretty small as far as the depth of the wood. or excuse me, the width of the wood, and the trail itself is not very thick in either direction, but it's enough that it needs filling, and it goes right through this recess. It's underneath that center part of the recess. We'll call that a tenon, and it really is shaped like a tenon there in the middle. But I've put some glue down. I put some grounds down, then I put some glue down. Here's some more grounds just going on top, so it's nice and solid. And then I'll get my pick here in just a second, and we'll put the grounds and the glue where I need them, instead of being so spread out. There's that dental pick that I use all the time. And like I said, I'm cleaning out that groove between the recess and the side, and then we get it all taken care of. It's all dry. Now let's come back and sand it all down. Well, for once, I have seen all these signs of foreshadowing of bad things to come, and it looks like I may have gotten away with it. So let's put a little walnut oil. We're going to bring this walnut to life, and look how beautiful that is. I just love black walnut. For me, it is the king of American hardwoods. Just gorgeous. It's rare that I see one that I don't think is beautiful. This one is one of those good-looking pieces of walnut. Not only will I spread it across here in just a moment, I'm going to put some of that oil into a can and get my little acid brush that you see there. And we're going to put some on the bark just to bring out the beauty of the bark as well. It'll also help hold that bark together as it ages and dries further. We've turned around here. We're going to work on the back side. Those are some of those glue spots that were there. Same sanding process that I always use. We're going to start at 60 or 100 grit. In this case, I think I was at 100 grit. Work all the way up to 320. Finally, all that sanding is done. I hate it, you hate it, but it has to be done if you're going to have a nice finish. So we're just going to finish up the bottom here and see how this goes. Okay, looks like we're going to get away with it. It always makes me happy when a piece of wood is telling me the whole time, I'm not going to stay together, but then it does. So now on to hand sanding. We're finished now. Bummer. I thought I was in the clear. Oh well. I'll show you here in just a second what it was going to look like. I'll put the little plug back in and show the finished side to you. It was going to look beautiful. It was going to look even better after I put the axe on there and just hand rubbed it out. Let me remind you that Axe is going to be closed June the 17th through the 25th. So you can place your orders online. Just don't expect anything from them until probably the 1st of July. So this is Doug at Wood Spun Round. Until we meet again, I hope you're able to spin them around.